Discover the incredible story of a poor black girl whose hidden voice exposed life-changing tale. In the heart of Chicago's inner city, where dreams seemed to wither on cracked sidewalks, lived Amani Johnson, a 12-year-old girl whose spirit shimmered like a hidden gem. Every day, she woke up to the harsh reality of life: peeling walls, flickering lights, and a mother fighting the ghosts of her past. Amani often felt like a shadow in her own home, her voice drowned by the weight of poverty, bullying at school, and her mother's relentless expectations. Yet, the moment she slipped into her tiny bedroom, everything changed. There, with just a pen and a notebook, she soared. The verses of Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou resurrected her spirit, each word drawing her closer to the identity she craved. Mr. Thompson, her compassionate teacher, noticed Amani's flicker of light in a classroom often consumed by darkness. He believed in the power of words and urged Amani to enter a citywide poetry contest. "You have a spark, Amani. It's time to let it shine," he encouraged. Her heart raced, excitement battling with fear. What if she failed? But there was more at stake than her pride. The mere thought of disappointing her mother, who worked tirelessly to provide for them, pulled at her soul like an anchor. At home, bills towered on the kitchen table, reminders of the weight they both carried. While Amani dreamed of the spotlight, her mother's furrowed brow surveyed the daily grind, her worries casting a shadow over Amani's dreams. "We need to focus on what's important. This poetry, it isn't going to pay the bills," she insisted one evening, her words stinging with desperation. Amani's heart sank. Torn between the mother's needs and her desire to be heard, she felt the walls closing in. As the contest day approached, the darkness tightened its grip. School became a battleground. Mean girls mocked her, taunted her for chasing a dream, calling her nobody. Each hurtful word felt like a stab in the chest. At home, her mother's focus narrowed more and more to their bleak reality, leaving Amani feeling lost, invisible, and hopeless. How could she pursue her ambitions when the world around them demanded so much just to survive? With the contest looming overhead, Amani stood at a crossroads. Should she take the risk of baring her soul, or play it safe, suffocating her yearning for expression? The panic churned in her stomach, like a roaring storm. Then came a moment of clarity. Amani remembered the burning anger, the tears of frustration, the laughter turned into jeers. She could no longer silence herself. She would unleash her voice. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Stepping onto that stage felt like jumping into the abyss. But as her poem spilled forth a mosaic of her pain, her dreams, her identity, every eye locked onto her, every heart beating with hers. The audience, a sea of unfamiliar faces, witnesses to her truth. It was a moment of astonishing clarity. The vulnerability that once held her captive now transformed into her greatest strength. As her voice rose and fell, pouring out raw emotion, something shifted. Whispers of empathy soaked the room, a connection unfurling among neighbors who once walked past each other, oblivious. As Amani concluded, the silence roared. Was her truth enough to mend her mother's anxieties? The cheers ignited a warmth as she soaked in the acceptance, but shadows of doubt lingered. Would her mother finally see her? The applause rang like thunder in her ears, yet deep down, Amani faced an uncertain future, desperately searching for her mother's embrace among the newfound voices echoing hope all around her. The story had only just begun. The applause faded, but Amani felt as if she was still suspended in that moment, the warmth wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. She stepped back from the microphone, breathless. A whirlwind of emotions swirled inside her: pride, elation, fear, and something she thought had been lost, hope. Could this be the turning point in her life? The bridge between her dreams and her reality? As she scanned the crowd for her mother, her heart pounded in her chest. Where was she? Amani's eyes searched frantically, but all she found were faces lit with admiration and understanding, faces moved by the unfiltered truth of her words. Amani fought back tears, a mix of joy and frustration spilling over. Would her mother treasure this moment too, or would another wave of disappointment crash through their already fragile relationship? Finally, she spotted her, standing at the back with a deep frown etched on her face. It was as if Amani could see the burden of the world hanging over her mother's shoulders. There were small cracks in her armor, and Amani felt a twinge of understanding. The poem spoke of pain, but it also revealed resilience. Would her mother even recognize the brave girl emerging from within? Before she could process her thoughts further, one of her classmates, Kayla, approached. That was amazing, Amani. You're going to win for sure. The genuine excitement in her voice caught Amani off guard. In school, Kayla had been one of the girls who made her feel small, invisible. But in this moment, it felt like a shift was occurring. Could Amani truly be seen not just through her poetry but as a person worthy of respect? Thanks, Amani managed to reply, her voice barely above a whisper, still half lost in the aftermath of her reading. But even in this fleeting conversation, a flicker of confidence ignited within her. Maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't be that invisible girl anymore. Afterward, she found a quiet corner of the bustling hallway to catch her breath. The walls echoed with chatter, but it all felt distant. Instead, her thoughts drifted back to her performance, the moment her heart bared itself for all to witness. The words she'd penned were no longer just her secrets. They had been shared, and she could feel the world shifting. Amani. The soft voice pulled her from her reverie. It was Mr. Thompson, his eyes sparkling with pride. You were incredible. I knew you had it in you. How do you feel? She took a deep breath, finally allowing herself to acknowledge the whirlwind of emotions. I feel seen, she replied, a smile inching onto her face. That's the power of your voice, he said gently. It can change everything. Just remember to keep using it. And then he paused, looking back toward the crowd. Now we just need to hope it reaches your mother. Amani nodded, but doubt began creeping back in. What if her words weren't powerful enough to break through the walls her mother had built? But along with that apprehension was a spark of determination. She might not have all the answers now, but she couldn't keep quiet any longer. The awards ceremony was starting, and every second felt like an eternity as she waited for the results. As they called out names and awards, her eyes darted from the stage to her mother, hoping to see a flicker of pride amidst the worry. Finally, the announcer reached the final category, Best Overall Poem. Amani felt her heart stop. Silence enveloped the room, tension heavy in the air. And the winner is her name. The room erupted into applause, but Amani was still frozen, heart racing. She'd done it. Yet, as thrilling as it was, an unsettling notion gripped her. Would this victory mean anything if her mother wasn't there to celebrate it? With a deep breath, she stepped into the spotlight once more, ready to embrace her moment, unsure of what revelations awaited her when the lights dimmed again. A voice crackled behind her, one she longed to hear. Amani. What would her mother say? Would this moment bridge the chasm between them? She stepped forward, wondering if this was the beginning of a new chapter or merely a glimpse of light in their heavy history. The real challenge was yet to unfold. Amani took a deep breath, letting the applause wash over her, but the sound felt muffled, like she was still wrapped in a thick fog. Her heart raced as she glanced back at her mother, who looked as if she were carved from stone. The pride Amani desperately craved remained just out of reach, hidden beneath layers of confusion and disappointment. A shadow danced across her mother's rigid features, and Amani felt a pang in her chest. Come on, Amani. Say something. Mr. Thompson urged softly from beside her. She focused on the crowd, feeling the heat of their eyes on her. This was her chance. "Thank you all for your support," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "This poem was born from my pain, but it also speaks of hope. I wrote it for all of you who feel lost, who feel unheard." Her words wavered at the end, compelling her to glance back at her mother, who stood unmoving. The cheers faded into a tense silence as she continued. "What I want most is for my voice to matter, not just to me, but—" She hesitated, considering her next words carefully as the weight of her mother's gaze bore down on her. "To the ones we love too." Was that a ghost of emotion she saw flicker in her mother's eyes? Amani couldn't tell. She wanted to run to her, to shake her out of whatever torpor gripped her heart. She lingered at the edge of the stage, momentarily paralyzed by the uncertainty of how her mother would respond. "Amani!" Someone shouted from the crowd. "We love you." Their encouragement swelled her chest with warmth, a reminder that she was not alone. But Amani's gaze remained fixed on her mother, waiting for a signal, anything to indicate that the poem had reached her. As the ceremony drew to a close, Amani descended the stage, heart pounding with anticipation and fear woven together. She stepped into the hall, swarming with students congratulating her. Laughter and cheers echoed, yet all she could focus on was the figure at the back of the room. Determination surged within her, and she navigated through the crowd, finally reaching her mother. "Mom," she began, her voice catching in her throat. "Did you hear what I said? Did it mean anything to you?" I heard you," her mother replied, but the words came out eerily flat, distant. Amani searched her mother's cautious eyes for understanding, but all she found was a closed door. "I wanted to share my truth with you," she insisted, trembling slightly. "I want us to be closer. I want you to know me. I don't know if I can." Her mother's voice cracked, revealing a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability. The storm within her seemed to scream for release, yet she held it tightly, like a fragile glass ornament. For a moment, they stood in silence, an unspoken conversation flowing between them, heavy and laden with all the words they had failed to say. Amani's chest tightened. Would this moment fracture the distance, or would it deepen the divide? Just then, Kayla appeared again, beaming like a ray of sun, breaking the momentary tension. "Amani, you were phenomenal. Everyone is buzzing about your performance." As the excitement surged anew, Amani felt a jolt of mixed emotions. She was proud of herself, but also sad. Perhaps this wasn't just a battle for her voice, it was a struggle for her mother to learn to hear it, to hear her. "Can you feel it?" Kayla nudged her. "The change in the air. You did that." "Yeah, I guess," Amani replied, her voice quieter as she looked back at her mother, who now turned to leave. Panic shot through her. "Mom, wait." But her mother didn't turn around. Amani stood there, heart racing, uncertainty clawing at her. She had taken one step toward her dreams, but the path to connecting with her mother felt impossibly steep. What could she do to reach her? A nagging question gnawed at her, would it ever be enough? The lights flickered overhead, and Amani felt the weight of the world press upon her. This moment didn't feel like the end, it felt like the beginning of something much harder. The real battle was about to commence. Would her words ever pierce through the silence that had separated them? For too long. As she watched her mother slip away, Amani knew she had to find the courage for the fight that lay ahead. Would she be brave enough to keep speaking her truth, even when it felt like no one was listening? Amani's hand fell limply to her side as she watched her mother retreat into the crowd. The warmth of accolades from her peers felt hollow now. The cheers that had once uplifted her were drowned by a wave of unsettled emotions. "Are you okay?" Kayla's voice pulled her back, vibrant and concerned. Amani tried to muster a smile, but it faltered. "I don't know. I hoped she'd feel something." Kayla's brow furrowed, and she chewed on her lip. "You let your heart out there. You did good." Sometimes it takes a while for people to process things. Just give her a little space. Space, Amani echoed, the word tasting bitter. Maybe I need to show her more. Maybe I need to keep trying. Just remember, it's about your journey too. You're finding your voice. Amani nodded but felt the disconnect churning in her stomach. She was still learning how to navigate this new reality. As she glanced around the room, the celebration felt surreal. Students grouped together, phones raised, capturing the moment. Amani couldn't shake the feeling of being on the outside looking in, while the one person whose approval mattered most was fading away from her. "Hey, stay close to me," Kayla said, linking her arm through Amani's. "Let us embrace the moment. We'll celebrate your success tonight, okay?" With a heavy heart, Amani joined her friend and tried to engage in the festivities. Laughter and chatter enveloped her, but underneath it all, the ache of unspoken words lingered like a ghost. Each time she caught sight of her mother's silhouette, she felt a pang of desperation. Then the buzz of a phone cut through the noise, and Amani felt a vibration in her pocket. Pulling it out, she was surprised to see a message from her mother. "I'm sorry, Amani. I need time to think." Amani bit her lip. That was it? Time. That felt painfully inadequate. She wanted to scream for her to come back, to talk, to be vulnerable together. But instead, she typed back, "I love you, Mom." Moments dragged on as she fought the urge to check her phone again. She filled the hours with small talk and laughter, but inside, her throat felt tight. The uncertainty hovered over her, like a thundercloud on the verge of breaking. Hours later, she stepped outside for a breath of fresh air, the crispness hitting her face with a sharp clarity. She looked up at the sky, darkening into shades of deep blue. The stars began to twinkle, distant yet bright. A faint sound of music drifted from within, a reminder of the celebration she had left behind. But the rhythm of the music was drowned out by the whirlwind of her thoughts. What if she lost her mother? The bond they shared felt fragile, like a delicate thread ready to snap. Suddenly, she spotted a figure standing just off the path, half hidden in shadows. "Mom." A surge of hope washed over her as Amani moved closer. Her mother emerged from the darkness, her face illuminated by the faint glow of the moonlight. She looked hesitant but present. "Amani," her mother started, but the hesitation in her voice made Amani's heart sink. This moment felt pivotal, hanging in the balance. "Can we talk?" Amani managed to say, each word punctuated by the fear of losing what little connection they had left. Would this be the breakthrough she needed, or would it lead them further apart? The weight of unspoken emotions loomed, and Amani held her breath, ready for whatever came next. Would they finally face the truths that had long haunted them, or would they slip back into silence? Amani's heart raced as she stood face to face with her mother. The world around them faded into a blur. Underneath the cold night sky, weight hung between them, the kind that could either shatter or mend. "Mom, I don't understand," Amani ventured, the tremble in her voice betraying her courage. "I tried so hard to share my feelings tonight. I hoped you'd see me." Her mother's eyes glinted in the moonlight, and for a moment, they seemed lost in thought. Amani searched her face, desperate for any indication that she was listening. Finally, her mother spoke, her tone soft but heavy. "Amani, it's not that I don't care. I just need to process what you've become." Amani's breath caught in her throat. What had she become? Wasn't she still the little girl her mother once held close? "I thought you'd be proud," she said softly, feeling a sting of hurt. "That you'd feel happy for me." "I am proud," her mother assured her, and Amani could hear the sincerity, but it was loaded with something unsaid. "It's just. I've been scared. Scared of how you'll grow and what that means for us." Tears pricked at Amani's eyes. "What do you mean? You're my mom. You're supposed to be here for every step. I need you to be here." Her mother stepped closer, swallowing hard. "And I want to be. The shadow of a smile flickered on her lips, but doubt lingered in her eyes. But it scares me to see you stepping out into the world when I've held you so tightly for so long. I don't want to lose you. Then don't, Amani whispered, the sincerity of her plea hanging in the air like snowflakes. I'm not going anywhere. But I need to know that you'll walk this journey with me. I need your support, your love. For a moment, time stood still. The stars twinkled brightly overhead, but the space between them felt darker, charged with vulnerability. Amani reached out, taking her mother's hand. It was warm, yet it trembled slightly, an echo of the fear hanging in the air. Can we try again? Amani asked, her voice small. Can we be honest? I want us to be close. I want to share everything. Her mother searched her face as though weighing the gravity of the moment. Finally, a slow nod broke the tension. Yes, she breathed. Let us try. Relief washed over Amani, but even as her heart swelled with hope, a quiet voice of uncertainty lingered inside her. Could they truly overcome this divide? Would the walls they had built around their hearts begin to crumble? Suddenly, the laughter and music from the celebration pulled Amani's mind back to the present. Her friends were still celebrating her success, but she felt fragmented between both worlds. I should get back, she said reluctantly, but I want to talk more. I need you to be there for me. Of course, her mother said, her voice stronger now. I'll be there. I promise. As Amani moved back towards the celebration, a giddy mix of relief and anxiety surged through her. The shadows didn't seem as dark anymore, but she still felt that nagging worry in the pit of her stomach. What if the attempt to reconnect led to greater pain? The music swelled, amplifying the confusion of emotions flooding through her. Would each step they took together lead to healing, or would they find themselves right back where they began? With a determined breath, Amani tucked her phone into her pocket and stepped into the bright lights of the party. The warm sounds of laughter embraced her, and yet, as she looked back at her mother, she sensed their journey had only just begun. What unspoken truths still lay buried between them, waiting to be unearthed? Amani stepped back into the vibrant atmosphere of the celebration, her heart still heavy with the weight of her conversation with her mother. Friends swarmed around her, cheers of "You did it!" echoing in her ears. But the joy felt distant, muted by the complexities that wrapped around her heart. She forced a smile, acknowledging their excitement, but her mind wandered back to her mother's uncertain gaze. "Hey, Amani!" shouted one of her friends, Maria, her curly hair bouncing as she rushed over. "You were amazing out there. I can't believe how effortlessly you nailed that speech." "Thanks, Maria," Amani replied, her voice sounding a bit hollow even to her own ears. "Come on. We have to get you a slice of cake." Maria pulled her deeper into the crowd. They made their way towards the table laden with colorful treats, but Amani felt as if she were walking through water, each step heavy. With every laugh, every cheer, Amani could feel a divide widening inside her. The joy of the celebration felt so far removed from the conversation she had just had. She leaned against the table, watching the festivities unfold before her. The laughter of her friends rang through the air, but it couldn't drown out the questions that kept swirling in her mind. What if her mother couldn't really change? What if this moment of openness was just a flicker in the darkness? Amani looked around, their jubilant faces unable to pierce the walls that felt so sturdy and so familiar. "Hey, Earth to Amani." Another friend, Jake, waved a hand in front of her face, snapping her out of her reverie. "What's up? You look miles away." "Just thinking," she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You need to loosen up. We're celebrating you." Jake grinned, tossing an arm around her shoulders. "Dance with us." Something tugged at Amani, a flicker of energy from the group. But deep down, an urge to retreat overwhelmed her. She nodded but stayed on the sidelines as music pulsed around her. She watched her friends dance and laugh, caught in a moment of freedom she felt she couldn't quite share. Then, something shifted. She caught sight of her mother standing at the edge of the gathering, her expression pensive. Her heart squeezed. In all her anticipation for this moment, she had neglected the enormity of the journey they still faced. Amani longed for a real connection, a bond that went beyond this celebration. As the music shifted to a slower beat, she found the courage to approach her mother. She lifted a hand, motioning her mom to join her. "Come dance with me," she called, her voice simple yet heavy with invitation. Her mother hesitated, then stepped forward. The hesitation in her movements broke Amani's heart. They swayed awkwardly at first, but as Amani looked into her mother's eyes, she saw a flicker of vulnerability mirrored back at her. "I'm still scared, you know," her mother admitted softly, a quiet vulnerability lacing her words. "I know," Amani whispered. "But together, we can handle anything." The music wrapped around them, and in that moment, Amani felt an inkling of hope. They were in this together, building trust one small dance step at a time, but questions still loomed. Could the dance of healing they began tonight lead to something deeper? Would they find the rhythm of each other's hearts as they navigated the uncharted waters of their relationship? As the song faded, Amani could sense that the journey ahead was fraught with risks, but she felt something was beginning to change. What awaited them on the other side of these churning emotions? Amani felt the warmth of her mother's hand against her back as they swayed to the final notes of the song. For a moment, the world around them blurred, and the bustling celebration faded. It was just the two of them, an island in a sea of laughter. Amani held on to that fragile feeling, a little spark of connection that brought comfort amidst her uncertainty. "Thank you for inviting me to dance," her mother said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect this." Amani pulled back just enough to look into her mother's eyes. "I know. But I think we both need this." There was a moment of understanding, a soft flicker of hope dancing between them. Suddenly, laughter erupted from nearby, snapping Amani back to reality. Friends were joking and teasing, carelessly unaware of the silent complexities swirling beneath her own surface. She felt a pang of loneliness wash over her. Did they ever worry about their relationships like she did? Did they grapple with their own family battles? "Let us grab some cake," Amani proposed, desperate to distract herself from the weight of their conversation. "Sure." Her mother followed her lead, and as they made their way towards the dessert table, Amani could feel the anticipation bubbling inside her. Would this moment lead them to a new beginning? As they approached, her heart raced at the sight of the towering cake, layers of every color decorated with delicate frosting flowers. Maria and Jake had gathered near the cake, frosting-covered plates in hand. "There you are. We thought you got lost," Maria exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. Amani couldn't help but crack a smile. "Just needed a little mother-daughter moment," Amani said, her cheeks warm. "Nice. You two should have danced longer," Jake teased, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Amani felt her mother's hand slip away as laughter bubbled around them. The moment felt lighter, but Amani still sensed a quiet tension in her heart, a thread connecting her to the unspoken fears between her and her mother. As they all dug into the cake, the atmosphere buzzed with joy. Amani watched her friends, and in that moment, she felt thankful for this small slice of happiness. Yet, amidst the joy, her thoughts drifted. What would tomorrow hold? Would their newfound connection survive the challenges waiting just around the corner? "Can we sit for a minute?" her mother asked suddenly, looking for a quieter spot amid the chaos. "Of course," Amani replied, feeling the shift in her mother's tone. They found a small bench off to the side. Hurried laughter echoed in the background as Amani and her mother settled into a more serious silence. Amani's heart pounded as she watched her mother fidget with her necklace, the uncertainty palpable. "We've been through so much," her mother finally murmured. "But I'm scared it'll never feel normal." Amani felt her own breath hitch. "Normal? What does that even mean for us?" she asked, her voice earnest. I think we've got to redefine it together. As her mother looked at her, Amani saw a glimmer of something she had been longing to witness: determination. You're right. We need to talk about everything. Amani nodded, but apprehension gnawed at her. What would they have to confront? Was she ready to peel back the layers of hurt and disappointment? They were beginning to row their boat into deeper waters. Whatever happened next was crucial to the future they both needed. As the celebration continued to swirl around them, Amani realized that change was coming. Yet, her heart fluttered with unease. How would those conversations unfold? What truths lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed? With newfound resolve, Amani squeezed her mother's hand, an anchor in their unsteady journey. They were both learning not just to dance, but to embrace the reality that healing required facing the full spectrum of their emotions. And in that moment, Amani felt the stirring of something greater within her. What would it take to bridge the gaps forged by pain and misunderstanding? Would love alone be enough to guide them home? Amani took a deep breath, staring at the ground as swirling colors of cake and laughter surrounded them. She felt the weight of her mother's gaze, steady and expectant, something that both thrilled and terrified her. So, where do we start? Amani asked, her voice barely above the joyful noise of the celebration. Her mother hesitated, her fingers tracing the outline of the bench. I guess we start with what has been hardest for me, she said, her voice cracking ever so slightly. How I've struggled to be the parent I want to be. Amani looked up, startled. You've always been there for me. She replied, her heart racing. You raised me. That wasn't easy, you know. I know, her mother said, a shadow passing over her face. But I always felt like I wasn't enough. Like I could never manage the emotions we were both drowning in. Amani felt a shiver of understanding ripple through her. How often did she herself wear a mask of strength? Mom, when you left for work and I stayed home alone, I felt abandoned, Amani admitted, surprising even herself. And when you were home? I just felt the weight of your sadness, like it was something I should fix. Her mother's eyes were wide, full of surprise but also a spark of recognition. I didn't mean for you to feel that way. I was just trying to provide. I thought that if I worked hard enough, we could stay afloat, she confessed, her voice a mixture of regret and vulnerability. That was never the problem, Amani whispered. I needed you, not just your work, but your presence. Your words. I wanted to know you were okay. Silence enveloped them as Amani's words hung in the air. She saw her mother's eyes glisten, and in that moment, Amani felt a surge of compassion, a desperate wish that they could have these conversations every day, that they could untangle this knot of hurt. I'm sorry, her mother finally said, her breath steadying. I wish I had listened more, been more present. I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting me, but you were hurting yourself too, Amani replied gently. We can't keep hiding from what hurts us. We need to share that weight. Her mother nodded slowly, her expression softening. I've missed so much of you growing up, Amani. Your dreams, your fears. I want to change that. The celebration around them seemed to fade even more, the music now a distant echo. It was just Amani and her mother, two hearts, raw and open, beginning to journey through the bramble of their shared experience. What if we rebuilt everything? Amani suggested, her heart racing with the boldness of the idea. What if we decided to be there for each other in ways we both need? A flicker of hope lit up her mother's eyes. Yes. We can make that promise. I want us to be strong together, not apart. With that declaration, a warmth settled between them, stronger than moments before. Amani felt fortified, as if they were both finally grasping a thread that had long unraveled. They weren't just mother and daughter anymore, they were allies. As they looked at each other, Amani felt lightness, but she also understood that fragile hope could be a double-edged sword. What lay ahead could also hold more challenges, more fears to face. Would they have the strength to keep these conversations alive and thriving? Then let us start. Tonight, all that matters is how we move forward, Amani said, a brave new spark igniting inside her. As they stood to rejoin the festivities, the facade of a perfect celebration began to unweave. Amani held her mother's hand, a silent agreement passing between them. But as laughter resumed, Amani noticed a familiar face across the yard, a shadow from her past that made her heart skip. What would it mean for their newfound resolve if that face approached them? Amani's heart raced as she squinted against the backdrop of colorful streamers and cheerful guests. The figure across the yard stood still amidst the chaos, their face illuminated by strings of twinkling lights. Recognition washed over her in waves, a mix of eagerness and dread tangling in her gut. It was Malik, her childhood friend, the boy who had once been a constant in her life, before life's currents swept them apart. Her mother noticed her stillness and followed her gaze. The warmth that had blossomed between them a moment ago suddenly felt fragile, like a soap bubble teetering on the edge of popping. "Do you know him?" her mother asked softly, tension threading through her words. Amani nodded, swallowing hard. "We were close once before everything changed." The unspoken truth hung in the air, the reality that friction had grown between them as families drifted and priorities shifted. "What if he comes over?" Amani's voice came out uneasy, tinged with a yearning she didn't fully understand. Her mother squeezed her hand tighter. "Then you let it happen. Just like we talked about. Be honest with yourself." With him before Amani could respond, Malik's familiar smile stretched across his face as he took a tentative step toward them. The world around her seemed to fade, laughter and music melting away as the years peeled back. Memories swirled in her mind, the shared dreams, whispered secrets, laughter in the swing set at the park. "Amani!" Malik called out, his voice warm, yet edged with uncertainty. "Hey, Malik," Amani managed, her heart flipping in her chest. As he approached, his eyes darted between her and her mother, a hint of awkwardness coloring his expression. "I heard this was a party worth crashing, decided to see what I was missing," he said, trying to shake off the heaviness in the air. "Yeah, it's been different," Amani replied, a cautious smile breaking through. She felt like a tightrope walker, balancing on the edge of nostalgia and fear. Her mother cleared her throat, grounding the moment. "Hi, Malik. It's nice to see you again. How have you been?" "Not bad. You know how it goes," he replied, shrugging. "A little lost, a little found, same old song." A shared understanding flickered between them, a connection that hadn't entirely vanished but had morphed in the shadows of growing up. Amani felt a pang of longing. Were they both still weaving their stories, or had the thread snapped? The initial tension hung between them, waiting for a spark to ignite it into something deeper. "You know, it feels like so long since we've had a real conversation," Malik said, his gaze settling on her, searching her eyes for something familiar. Amani felt the weight of his words, heavy and loaded with their shared history. "Yeah, a lot has happened." The admission slipped out, the unspoken emotions spilling onto the surface. Malik's brow furrowed, curiosity erupting in his gaze. "Do you remember the plans we made? The ones we thought would never change?" Amani felt a smile bubble up, the memories flooding back, the dreams they had sketched during lazy summer days, laughter spilling over every promise. "Of course, I still think about them sometimes." "Do you?" The air grew thick with unsaid thoughts, a bridge forming between two fragile hearts mending over time. As they spoke, Amani's mind veered back to her mother's words about building connections, about sharing the weight of pain. Then Malik's expression shifted, darker, as if a shadow passed over him. "But things are different now, Amani. We're not kids anymore. Does it even matter?" Amani felt her chest tighten. "Of course it matters. That's why I want to know you again. What if we could rewrite those plans, those dreams?" While her words hung in the air, a soft panic gripped her. Could they really reconnect after everything? As Malik opened his mouth to reply, the laughter around them swelled again, but Amani's focus was fixed solely on him. What had started as a joyous celebration now felt fragile, like a moment suspended between hope and uncertainty. "Would you be willing to try?" she whispered, her heart beating rapidly, trying to push through the walls both of them had built. Malik's gaze shifted. "But what if we fail again?" Amani inhaled deep, the weight of countless regrets, dreams, and friendships compressing into that singular question. She knew that the past was a complex mosaic they were both trying to navigate. And just as the silence grew thick with tension, Amani spotted her mother's encouraging nod. The feeling of belonging sparked anew, igniting a sliver of courage within her. "Then we rebuild," she said, determination lacing her words. "With everything we've got." But then a flash of doubt flickered across Malik's face, making her wonder what was truly at stake if they stepped into the unknown together. Would it lift them, or tear them apart forever? Amani stood there, words hanging between her and Malik like a bridge waiting to be crossed. His hesitation tugged at her heart, but she felt the warmth of her mother's approving nod at her back. This moment felt pivotal, an intersection of their lives. "Why don't we just talk?" Amani suggested, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. "Like we used to." "What's changed?" Malik rubbed the back of his neck, the flurry of laughter in the background fading as he contemplated her words. "It feels like everything has changed, we've changed. I don't want to bring back old feelings if it just complicates things. What if we find something new?" Amani offered, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. "Change doesn't have to mean goodbye to the past. It can be a new beginning." Her words were like a soft breeze piercing through the tension. Malik's shoulders dropped, the rigidness easing. "You're right," he said slowly, quiet understanding dawning in his eyes. "I've missed you." In that moment, Amani realized they were both navigating uncharted waters. They had shared dreams, once so bright, but now felt dimmed by time and distance. "Me too," she responded, her heart loud in the silence, almost echoing in the space between them. A tentative smile broke across Malik's face, a small crack in his shield. "So, where do we start?" Her heart raced as she searched for a way to rebuild. "Let's lay it on the table. Who we are now and what we want." Malik nodded, encouraged by her bravery. "Okay. I want to write again. I miss expressing myself. I stopped because it felt pointless after everything." "Then write. Use it as a way to connect," Amani urged, remembering the passion they once shared. "It's all about finding your voice again." With each passing word, they began to peel back layers of vulnerability, like removing the heavier, choking blankets of their past. As their conversation flowed, Amani began to notice her mother, leaning casually against the wall, listening and her expression softening, and for the first time, she seemed present. "I feel like I lost my chance," Malik admitted, a hint of regret creeping into his tone. "I got swept up in what was expected. Football, grades, responsibilities," he exhaled, the weight of those burdens palpable in the air. "Who made those expectations?" Amani asked gently. "You're you. Even if you don't play anymore, that doesn't change what you love." "True," he mused, eyes lighting slightly. "But I feel so behind everyone. Everyone seems to be thriving." "Survival doesn't mean thriving," Amani said firmly. "Sometimes it means finding the courage to step back and figure things out." A brief silence wrapped around them, but this wasn't some fragile moment they were facing their worries together. Amani's heart swelled with hope. "I want to write something together," Malik said suddenly, joy flickering anew in his eyes. "Maybe we can start with a poem? Something that captures where we are." "Absolutely. Let us do it." Amani's spirit soared. "This means so much to me." At the edge of her periphery, she spotted her mother stepping closer, a hint of a smile breaking through the solemnity of her face. Amani's heart raced, realizing they were creating a new bridge, not just with Malik but also maybe with her mother. As they dove into discussions of ideas and verses, Amani felt a sense of belonging wash over her. She could sense her mother inching closer, and in that moment, she hadn't just rekindled ties with Malik, but perhaps strengthened the bond with her mother as well. "About that dance, can we share it?" Amani interjected, glancing back at her mother. "This moment feels like it's screaming for one." Her mother chuckled softly, stepping to Amani's side. "I'd love that." Malik laughed, joining in as they stepped into the overflowing energy of the celebration, the music inviting them back into the warmth of the gathering. The world felt brighter, and Amani realized they had found their rhythm. As they all moved together, there was still fear in the air, but Amani felt something profound had shifted in her, an acceptance of the complexities of connection. With each sway to the beat, Amani discerned the beginning of healing, not just for her and Malik, but open soil for her and her mother too. She wouldn't shy away from her truth, and maybe together, they'd build the future they all yearned for. As the melody faded, Amani glanced at her mother and Malik, their smiles lighting her path forward. The journey of healing was still ahead, but tonight, they were taking steps together. And in that moment, the soft whispers of hope echoed loud in her heart. The light of possibility, once hidden beneath the surface, began to shine brilliantly within, guiding them all toward a brighter tomorrow. Reach out today, share your voice, and embrace the connections yet to be forged. This is your chance. Will you be brave enough to begin your journey? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.